Meghan Markle, Meghan Sussex if you don't mind, gifted a $300 care package to a superfan who's criticised Kate and William. Stop the clocks, everyone. Did you know that the data shows in the UK, 60% of people have criticised Kate and William in 2026 alone? We can see what Kate and William are now and how they colluded with the press in the past to throw shade on Harry and Meghan, both pre them leaving the UK and especially post leaving the UK. How many journalists have we seen on live television saying that Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace briefed more anti-Harry and Meghan stories than the rest of the world combined? And in fact, one journalist said on BBC, 70% of the anti-Harry and Meghan shade came directly from the British, non-working, taxpayer-funded royal family. So let's have an equal world where anybody is allowed to criticise anybody, because I think if we go through the data, Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace, you're going to be looking a lot worse than you do now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you I have become an international incident. Daily Fail. Is this about little old me? Apparently, the Daily Fail has decided that a guy making TikToks and Instagram posts from America is now worthy of royal investigation. Me, a random content creator with a phone, opinions, and entirely too much time spent discussing royal drama between workouts and dinner reservations. According to this headline, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, sent a gift package to a superfan who has criticized William and Kate and bought her wine. I think they're talking about moi. Because if they are, I have to admit I'm thoroughly amused. Imagine being a major British tabloid and assigning reporters to track down what showed up at my front door. I thought Meghan was supposed to be irrelevant. I thought nobody cared. Yet somehow we're now treating a gift like it was the crown jewels. The funniest part of this dramatic wording, spent hundreds of dollars on Meghan's wine. Yes, that's generally how buying wine works. You spend money and receive wine. It's just that delicious. You know, this isn't exactly a breaking scandal. It's called being a customer. Now they'll be reporting that someone who shops at Nike owns sneakers. The level of investigation is incredible. I make social media content for fun. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a politician. I'm not a royal correspondent. I'm literally a guy on the internet who talks too much and somehow ended up in a Daily Fail headline. At this point, I expect paparazzi lurking behind the cereal aisle the next time I go grocery shopping. If this is what qualifies as international news in 2026, business must be a little slow over at the Daily Fail. Getting a headline by the Daily Fail might be the most British honor I've ever received. And that's the read.
So, the Daily Mail is back at it again. And honestly, at this point, it feels like they wake up, stretch, and ask, who can we spin today? This time, it's about Meghan sending a care package to notorious JTB, and somehow that turned into a whole headline drama marathon. Like, relax, it's a gift, not a secret mission, not a scandal, just a package. But the way it's framed, you'd think she smuggled treasure across borders. And what's funny is how quickly these stories get twisted into something way bigger than they are. One minute it's she sent a gift, next minute it's what does this mean for the monarchy, society, the weather, and your breakfast cereal. Now online, people are arguing everything under the sun. Some saying the media is obsessed with pushing a certain angle when it comes to Harry and Meghan, others saying it's just standard tabloid behavior because controversy sells. Either way, it's messy. And when it comes to public opinion, you'll see different polls floating around showing mixed feelings about different royal figures. Nothing clean, nothing unanimous. It shifts depending on what story is trending that week. That's just how public perception works now. But here's the real street-level feeling. People are tired. Tired of every small thing being turned into a battlefield, tired of headlines acting like everything is a hidden agenda, tired of the constant us versus them energy. And the wild part is, regular people can spot exaggeration instantly now. Everyone's got receipts, screenshots, context, so when a headline feels inflated, people don't just swallow it anymore. They question it out loud, in real time. As for all the online chatter about media alliances and palace politics, that's the kind of stuff that lives in speculation territory. People talk, theories fly, narratives build, but solid proof, that's a whole different conversation. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Meghan or Harry or a newspaper headline. It's about how fast stories get stretched, how quickly narratives harden, and how little patience people have left for being spun. And honestly, that might be the biggest headline of all. Whenever William and Kate get pulled into this kind of coverage, you can almost feel the tone of the story shift. It stops being about the original moment and starts becoming about narrative angles, implications, and how the headline can be shaped to spark debate. Regular people notice that pattern more and more now. They're not just reading the story, they're reading how the story is being told. And when you watch it unfold in real time, it's hard not to see how quickly simple situations get expanded into something much louder than they need to be. That's where the frustration comes in. Because instead of clear reporting, it often feels like stories are being built to steer reaction rather than just explain what happened. So, let's talk about how a completely normal moment somehow got dragged into headline chaos again. A simple gift package gets mentioned, Meghan's name gets pulled in, and suddenly the Daily Mail turns it into something loaded with implications, framing, and all the usual heavy-handed wording they're known for. Nothing about it is neutral, nothing about it is light. It's always spun in a way that pushes a reaction, and people are noticing it more than ever. Because when you strip it down, what actually happened here? A creator receives something, reacts online, and handles it the only way that made sense, humor. And honestly, JTB's response was perfect. Instead of feeding drama or getting pulled into outrage culture, he flips it on its head with sarcasm and jokes about becoming an international incident. That kind of self-awareness is exactly why it spread. People are tired of constant negativity online, so when someone chooses comedy instead of chaos, it stands out immediately. That's why it resonated. But the bigger issue isn't even the gift or the reaction, it's the way stories like this get framed in the first place. The Daily Mail takes something small and stretches it into something suggestive, something louder than it needs to be, something designed to trigger debate rather than inform. And that pattern is exactly what people are pushing back against now, because the public can see it. They can feel when something is being inflated for effect. They can tell when tone is doing more work than facts. Meanwhile, Meghan keeps ending up at the center of these narratives even when the original moment is simple or harmless. That's the part that stands out. How quickly normal interactions get pulled into bigger media storytelling cycles that feel more engineered than organic. And through all of it, what gets lost is the actual human side of things. A gift, a reaction, a joke, a laugh. Not a scandal, not an incident, just people online trying to make sense of how fast something ordinary gets turned into something else entirely. And that's where JTB's reaction hits hardest. It cuts through all of that noise with humor, while the media machine keeps doing what it does best, turning small moments into big headlines. Let's be honest, some of this journalism is getting embarrassing, like proper sit back and wonder what they're doing embarrassing. A simple story comes out, a gift, a reaction, a bit of online humor, nothing wild, nothing dangerous, just everyday internet stuff. And then certain outlets jump in and act like they've uncovered the plot of a thriller movie. Big headlines, loaded wording, suspicious tone for no reason. You can almost feel the stretch happening in real time. And people aren't buying it like me used to. That's the shift nobody in those newsrooms seems to fully clock yet. Regular people scroll faster now. They read between the lines faster too. The second something feels exaggerated, they spot it. No effort needed. It just hits the eye wrong. And when you see how JTB handled it, just laughing, joking, not biting into the drama, you realize something simple. Most of the story isn't even the story. The reaction is. But the media still tries to force everything into a bigger shape than it actually is. Every detail gets inflated, every connection gets hinted at, everything is sources say and reportedly linked energy. At some point you've got to ask, who is this even for anymore? Because it's not informing people, it's not even explaining things clearly, it's just stirring the pot and hoping people argue in the comments. And honestly, that's where outlets like the Daily Mail keep tripping over themselves now. The overreach is obvious now. People can see when something is being dressed up to look bigger, darker, or more dramatic than it really is. That's why they're losing trust in real time. Not because people are dumb, but because people are online, every day, all day. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Miles. And honestly, if you've made it this far, you already know how wild this whole thing is. One simple story turns into a whole internet moment. Everyone's talking, everyone's reacting, and somehow it all spirals into something way bigger than it ever needed to be. But that's the internet for you. And look, I've said what I've said. You've heard my take. If certain headlines start popping up tomorrow, just know I was here, minding my business, speaking my truth, and apparently that's all it takes these days to end up in a front page situation. So yeah, shout out to you for watching, staying locked in, and not getting lost in the noise. I'm your host Miles, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully before the Daily Mail decides to turn this into a 12-paragraph mystery story about me.